Next on an all-new Buffy.
Something's already in motion, something big.
An invisible evil is on the attack.
Okay, I know someone's here.
I'm invisible.
An all-new Buffy after 7th Heaven. Next.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
And this week, we will be diving headfirst into Season 1, Episode 11, the penultimate episode, Out of Mind, Out of Sight.
Yes, diving in headfirst like a cement swimming pool with no water.
Yeah, we will not be kicking in any fucking doors this week. Which my roommate found that line hilarious.
Yeah.
She happened to be in the room with me when the episode first dropped, and I always play the first couple of minutes of the episode when it first drops just to make sure there's nothing wacky or weird with the audio encoding. And she heard me say the screw up line of "we're kicking in," and I'm going no, and you go, "It's some fucking doors." She busted out laughing. So
I've decided I'm going to try and be the comic relief.
are you okay? All right. Well, so as we said, this week's episode, Out of Mind, Out of Sight, again burying that lead. No idea what that could mean. And this is our penultimate episode. Next week will be our final episode of Season 1, after which we will be taking about a month break. We'll call it our summer vacation. So please bear that in mind if you don't, after next week's episode, if you don't see anything drop from us on the feed, that's because we're on vacation until what would that be, about June or so. June was when we come back, and then that's when we'll begin coverage of season 2.
I will still be active on the socials.
Oh yeah.
I'll drop the occasional post.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody emails or comments or
spoiler alert, I'm still in the midst of talking to a couple of folks about trying to possibly get an interview with some people that were involved with the show. And if I'm able to pull that off during that break, we will come back and record a special interview episode. And then if we do, of course, we'll get the word out, and that episode will drop. Those will be any type of interview episodes or any kind of bonus stuff we do. I'll always drop those as bonus episodes that will clearly be not part of the sequential order of episode reviews.
Right. Speaking of bonus episodes, Jeremy, I noticed a couple weeks ago, and I've been reluctant to mention it to you, but I'm gonna put you here on the spot while we're recording.
Okay.
Buffy, the original movie, is now streaming for free.
I saw that.
And I think we would be remiss not to do a bonus episide review of the movie that started it all.
I did not think you would be even remotely interested in that. So I was like, I didn't say anything.
But if you're up for it, I'm up for it. I have had a couple people reach out and ask if we were going to, and suggest that we do. So
we certainly can.
So that I think we could put it in cement right now. That'll be our first bonus episode after Prophecy Girl.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we could do that and then go ahead and take our break.
And do our break. All right, you heard it here, folks.
You heard it here. It's written in stone. If I break it, I go to hell.
Wow.
Or the hell mouth.
That's right. Right to Sunnydale or Cleveland. There's a Hellmouth in Cleveland too, right?
There has to be. It's Cleveland. I think there's also one in Milwaukee. I could probably think of a few more. There's one in Gary, Indiana. That much I know for a fucking fact.
Wow.
Anyway, so
nothing. How's your back?
My back is 6 million times better than it was. I had was it 3 or no 3? I had 3 chiropractor appointments since the last episode. And holy shit, were they painful I sore when I would go home. But then 2 days ago I woke up, or 3 days ago I woke up, and it was the first day I just had total relief, and I was like, oh my god, But all day I kept going along thinking, okay, any minute now I'm gonna get what I was calling they were like shooters, like shooting. It just take your breath away and stiffen, and I kept waiting all day, and it never happened. And then the next day was Easter, and it didn't happen then. And so far today it hasn't happened. So, no pain, no gain, I guess, because it worked.
Good. So you're like Steve Austin now, the $6 million man.
Yes.
You've been.
Yep.
They rebuilt you better, stronger, faster.
Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I was just going around stunning people.
Right.
So,
right. One of those references is going to be a huge deep cut for our listeners.
Oh yeah.
And one of them are going to be like the wrestler.
I think the Stone Cold one, pretty much everybody will get.
Oh yeah.
I think about 14 people will get the
$6 million
man reference. Yeah, which I put a meme up of that the other day on Facebook.
Did you? I missed it.
You saw that? Yeah, it was him with the episode that Andre was in.
Oh, where Andre played Bigfoot.
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that. That's my favorite episode.
After I posted it up, I was thinking, I bet there's like 3 people on my friends list that are even going to understand this.
I love the Bigfoot episodes of the $6 Million Man.
Oh yeah, when he throws him and it looks like a stuffed animal and stuff. Yeah. Oh,
and like Bigfoot turns out to be an alien.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, nothing new show wise. No emails, no comments, but
Well, we've figured out that we have a decent little group of listeners now, but I think we've figured out that they're all mutes.
They're mutes.
Yeah, they're unable to type.
Oh, okay.
So or do voice to, which is fine. It's almost kind of a running joke now. So it's actually kind of funny.
Eventually,
we'll listen to your shit, but if we're not talking to you, so
eventually people will want to talk to us. We should just start making like blatantly outrageous false claims about the show.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the first episode of season 2, we should just our review should not be of that episode.
Yeah, or just skip like an entire season and see if anybody says anything.
Like instead of reviewing episode 1 of season 2, we'll review like the 12th episode of, I don't know, Gilmore Girls.
Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think it's kind of funny at this point. Eventually, people will. I'm sure people will eventually want to contact us, at least to cuss me out. So, which is fine.
People will get there. We're still a baby show.
We are. We're not even off the teat yet, as they would say.
Right. We're just a little baby podcast.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to jump right into our dates and deets here.
Let's do some dates and deets.
All right. As Jeremy already said, our episode this week is episode 11, Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Our original air date was May 19th, 1997 on the WB. Our episode director is Reza Bediai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Easy to say.
Reza's Buffyverse credits include only 2 episodes, both for Buffy. The Puppet Show. And wait, I'm sorry. I messed up.
Wait. Here, I got the here. Try again, James.
All right, give me 1 second here.
You're going to that early already with the let's just talk about shit that's actually not even true and see if
see if anybody catches on. And I was the one that caught on.
Yeah. You should have just kept going. I would have never known the difference.
I should have.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Art Bell. Oh, I missed that guy.
Art Bell?
Yeah, I was a huge Art Bell fan, and
Really?
oh yeah, huge, huge, huge. Love everything paranormal.
Yeah, me too. Come on, come on.
Come on, feel the noise.
Girls, rock your boys. See, and unlike
Just pop.
unlike other podcast folks that where they would edit this all out, but we're not
Yeah.
going to.
Fuck
We're
no.
not going to.
No.
No.
That would take way too much time. The amount of editing I do on this show, it still takes me a while, but it is fucking surprisingly minuscule, the amount of editing I do.
All right, here we go. So Reza's body of work for the Buffyverse actually is only one episode.
Oh, okay.
It's here in Buffy, obviously, and it is this episode, Out of Mind, Out of Sight.
Easy for you to say.
His non-Buffyverse credits include episodes of Nashville, Once Upon a Time, Riverdale, Everwood, Charmed, and 30-something. And no movies for Reza. Our episode credited writers are we have a trio this time. A menage a writer, if you will, and I think you will. We have Joss Whedon, Ashley Gable, and Thomas A. Swiden. Joss, of course, as we've discussed, has 40 credits, writer credits to his name.
What about if from now on we no longer say his name, and from now on he shall be known as he who must not be named?
So we'll just go like the Voldemort route with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I mean,
from now
do.
On,
okay.
He doesn't get to have his name anymore because of how much of a shit dirtbag he is.
Okay. So he who shall not be named has 40 writer credits to his name across the Buffyverse. 29 for Buffy, 11 for Angel. His episodes of Buffy include Welcome to the Hellmouth, The Harvest, Nightmares, Out of Mind, Out of Sight, Prophecy Girl, When She Was Bad, School Hard, Lie to Me, Ted, Innocence, Becoming, Part 1 and 2, and Amends, Doppelgangland, Graduation Day, Part 1 and 2, The Freshman, Hush, Who Are You, Restless, Family, The Body, The Gift, Once More with Feeling, Lessons, and Chosen. His Angel episodes include City of, I Fall to Pieces, Sanctuary, Judgment, Happy Anniversary, Waiting in the Wings, Spin the Bottle, Conviction, Smile Time, A Hole in the World, and Not Fade Away.
You know, I think you've read all those before. I think from now on you can just say, check back our previous episodes. Because damn, that's a lot.
It is. But I don't feel like we would be being thorough.
Oh, we're being thorough. If there's one thing we are, it's thorough.
His non-Buffyverse writing credits, of course, include Dollhouse, Firefly, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Roseanne. Movie writing credits, Avengers Age of Ultron, The Cabin in the Woods, and Alien Resurrection. Ashley and Thomas are the actual writing duo. And their credited Buffyverse episodes include just 2 episodes of Buffy, those being I, Robot, You, Jane, and this episode, Out of Mind, Out of Sight. And their other TV credits include episodes of, well, Ashley's includes episodes of Designated Survivor, The Mentalist, and Xena Warrior Princess, and Thomas's only includes episodes of Xena Warrior Princess with Ashley. No movie credits to them.
They're two Buffy entrants here. Ooh, not two of the best.
Yeah, not the best.
Spoiler alert. Not a fan of this episode.
Yeah. Well, we can get into that later.
Yeah, we sure will.
It's not my favorite episode. It scores higher than it probably should for me for a couple of very specific reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into that later. As always, our regular cast includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest cast this week includes David Boreanaz as Angel, Armin Shimmerman as Principal Snyder, Mercedes McNabb as Harmony, and Clea Duvall as Marcy.
Marcy.
She's got a laundry list of credits to her name.
Yeah, I looked. She has a I mean, I think 96 was when it began.
Yeah,
and between 96 and now, that girl is a working actor.
Yeah, if it's safe to say, like we've said with many other guest stars, if you watch television or movies, you've seen this young lady.
Oh yeah.
At some point. Our supporting players this week are Ryan Biddle as Mitch, Denise Dowse as Ms. Miller, Mark Phelan as Agent Doyle, and Skip Stelrick as Agent Manetti. Fucking
and you can clearly tell those fuckers are not actors, those two agent guys, because they have no other fucking credits, and it's clear in their performance.
Yeah. Our episode synopsis is Buffy and Cordelia become allies to combat an invisible spirit. Angel warns Giles that Buffy could be in danger.
And that is so not the case. That's just totally wrong.
It's not particularly accurate.
Now, mine says, when an invisible menace starts attacking students and faculty at Sunnydale High, the Scooby Gang traces the problem back to Cordelia. And that is much more accurate.
That is much more accurate. Much more accurate.
Why don't I jump in and take the cold open this week?
I was getting ready to do it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
So we jump in. We're, of course, at Sunnydale High. We're in the halls. And we see Cordelia walking down the hall with Harmony. And she has her arm around a boy we've never seen before, as typically is the case with new characters.
Yeah.
And they're excitedly discussing spring and the upcoming spring dance and the May Queen competition when they bump into Buffy, who comes rushing out of the library and bumps into them, spilling various Slayer paraphernalia across the floor. And Buffy quickly stumbles across.
I made note of some stakes, a fucking morning star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a fucking morning star.
Yep.
This odd. It looks like a Filipino knife, like fighting knife. I'm not sure. A cross. I was like, why isn't there like a fucking 45 in there too while we're at it? But I'm like, does she really need all that shit at school? But okay.
And she, of course, stumbles through an excuse about borrowing the items from Mr. Giles for show and tell in history class. And our trio of Cordy and Harmony and Cordy's new boy toy walk off, and Cordy says something to the effect of, "Did I tell you about the time she attacked me at the Bronze?" And we
sad.
Yeah, we leave off of a close-up shot of a very, very sad Buffy as we transition to English class, where they're discussing The Merchant of Venice. And Cordelia comments that the character of Shylock is self-involved and whiny. And she proceeds to liken it to the time
herself, because she's sorry, no, go ahead.
She proceeds to liken it to the time she kind of ran over a girl on a bike, and the girl whined about her pain and ignored Cordelia's traumatic experience.
Yeah, this girl tried to make it all about her leg and not Cordelia's pain.
And funny enough, the teacher seems agreeable to Cordelia's viewpoint.
Right? Like, she's like, oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry about that.
And
so to this teacher later, I'm all for.
And after class, Cordelia arranges to talk with the teacher the next day about her paper. And she leaves and meets Harmony out in the hall, and we cut to the boys' locker room where we see the boy from the beginning that was with Cordelia. And he's getting out of the shower and goes over to his locker and starts putting his clothes on. And
Now I got to pause right here
sure.
because this is the first big thing that drove me crazy in this episode. So like you said, he gets out of the shower, he heads over to his locker, and he's toweling off. He begins to put his clothing on, and I made note of the fact that he's still soaking fucking wet. Like his back looks like he was just in the shower. His hair is the same. I can only imagine the rest of how wet the rest of his body was, and yet he's like, good enough. I'll go ahead and get dressed now.
Jeremy, you've only got so much time in those passing periods. Okay?
Yeah, I guess. And in between shots, like some of this scene, when they go back to him, he's dry as fuck, like he just walked across the desert. And then in other cuts, he looks like he just came out of the swimming pool. So I digress.
So as he's putting his dry clothes on his sopping wet body,
Yeah, pretty much.
One of his buddies comes over and asks if he's going to the Bronze, and he says he's got to pick his tux up first. And at this point, we find out that this guy's name is Mitch. His friend addresses him as Mitch, and he says he's got to pick up his tux first. And another one of his buddies comes over, and they're like, "Yeah, you got to look good if you're going to be on Cordelia's arm." And this jackhole's like, "It's not her arm I'm looking to be on."
Yeah, and that's when I started calling him Harvey Weinstein for the rest of my notes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So of course they have a hearty laugh at the lewd joke they just made at Cordelia's expense, and his buddies walk off, and he's finishing getting ready, and he hears a giggling. It's obviously a female giggle, and he looks out around and he calls out, who's there, and nothing, and he hears it again, and nothing, looks around, and then he reaches for a baseball bat that's on top of the lockers, but the bat floats up by itself and proceeds to attack him, hitting him several times until he's knocked unconscious. And that's our cold open.
I'll just leave it. I'm just not even gonna. Yep.
No,
go.
No, go, please.
That was just stupid. Where'd the bat come from? Why was the bat there? Why would the bat just be sitting on top of his locker? Why would he immediately? I heard a girl's voice twice. Let me get the bat. I probably need to beat this female to death with this bat. So I just.
I will
like
say
it's some kind of like demonic, fucking creepy, or it said like I'm gonna fucking kill you or something. Okay, you grab the bat. You're probably gonna need the bat. But he hears a girl's giggling voice twice. And his go-to was, I'm getting the Louisville Slugger. I don't know.
in defense of the bat being on top of the locker, it is the boys' gym locker room.
Yeah, but I don't recall ever seeing any type of sporting devices inside of our locker room when I was in high school. But
No, all at least throughout my school going experience, equipment always had to be returned to equipment lockups.
Yep.
Or teachers. So.
Yep.
But. So yeah, that's our cold open.
That is our cold open. It was only 4 minutes and 28 seconds this week, which might be a record for the last few episodes.
Yeah, that might be.
So when we come back from what would have been a commercial, we got Cordy. She's going to walking around to the different students in the passing period there, handing out what appears to be chocolates and saying, don't forget to vote for me for May Queen. And she sees, what's that?
I was gonna say, yeah, she's campaigning.
Yeah, she's campaigning
hard for May Queen.
Yeah. And you never see anyone else in the episode even mention wanting to be May Queen. So I'm just curious who the fuck she's running against.
Right. Probably nobody.
Yeah. So
I would surmise that, well, based on this episode, but also what we know so far, like Cordy is the popular girl. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah,
like
she's
there's no one that would even dare think to throw their hat into the ring against Miss Cordelia
to try to
Chase.
dethrone Miss Chase. Yes.
Right.
Uh,
Also, just to backtrack a little bit,
Yeah.
I did want to mention we seem to spend an inordinate amount of time in the boys and girls locker rooms.
Of course. I think every fucking episode has had at least one shot inside of one of the lock. And have you noticed how the boys' locker room is like this? Looks like this enormous like echo chamber. And then when you see the girls' locker room, it literally looks like the mop closet with like two
Right.
lockers in it.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
the girls' locker room is literally like 2 rows of lockers, and
And the ceiling is only fucking 5.5 feet
Right.
tall.
Right. It's like you walk in, there's 2 rows of lockers, you go down turn the corner, there's the showers, that's it.
And it's two shower heads.
Right.
And then the boys' locker room looks like the fucking bat cave.
Yeah.
It's this cavernous echo fucking chamber that's got like 8,000 lockers and 900 showers.
Right. The shower alone, from like where we opened with Mitch in the shower to where the showers ended beyond him, was easily probably the length of my entire house.
Yeah, you couldn't see the end of it. You just had to guess that was the end of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So as she's handing out these chocolates, she sees Harmony and a couple of her other cool friends, and she heads over to them and she goes, "This is the bomb." And I was like, "Oh, it's 1997." And she goes, "I'm such a campaign strategist." And because there's a C on the chocolates, and that's for Cordelia. So that, how does she say that? So that they associate me with something sweet. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I would fucking associate you with. And then she sees Buffy, and she starts to go up and give her one, and then realizes it's Buffy. And she's like, "Oh, I don't think I need the loony fringe vote," and walks away with her giggling cohorts of cunts. Sorry, because that's what they are. I'm that's what they are. I mean, that's not who they really are. That's who their characters are.
I know.
So. But anyway, because I knew plenty of those chicks in school, trust me. Oh yeah, so then Buffy's like, "Well, I don't even like chocolates," as they're walking away. And then she's like, "Wow, lamest comeback of our times." And about that time, Will and Xander arrive, and Xander's like, "What's she up to?" And Buffy's like, "Bribery." And Willow's, I made note of this, so we have to discuss it. Willow is totally holding and drinking a Kool-Aid Bursts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found that dope because I loved those things too, but not when I was in high school. Just saying.
I dare you now, as an adult,
uh-huh.
to drink a Capri Sun or a Kool-Aid Burst, or did you ever drink Hugs when you were little? They're like the little,
look like the little barrels.
The little barrels, yeah.
Everybody drank those. Oh yeah.
I dare you to drink one now as an adult, and with any sort of straight face, tell me that it tastes just as good now as it did back then.
Yeah, no, I don't do sugar like that in drinks. I still drink Kool-Aid from time to time. I will make a pitcher of Kool-Aid, but I make it with what's that shit called? Splenda. I make it with Splenda, and I don't put nearly as much in as what they say because I don't like like a super sugary drink.
Right.
Oh no, if I drank one of those, I'd probably throw the fuck up.
I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and there have been times over the years where, like, I've grabbed one of their Hugs or fruit drink pouch or something and took a sip, ready to revel in the nostalgia of my youth, and immediately was like, "This is garbage. I can't believe I ever drank this."
Yeah. I have 8 nieces and nephews. And I've had them since I was 13. was when I had my first nephew. And of course I'm 43 now, so you do the math. And so I have done the exact same thing over the years.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I remember grabbing out of our refrigerator once when my sister was over visiting with, I believe it was my second oldest, or it might have been, anyway, she was over visiting with the kids when they were really little, and they were drinking High C.
Mm.
And I was like, fuck yeah, High C is the dope show, son. And I busted one out because I hadn't had one forever, and I took a big gulp. Yeah. Just letting you know, sis, if you're out there listening, it got poured down the drain and thrown away. Because I was like, this is just pure sugar. No wonder these kids never sleep. This is pure fucking sugar.
He's sorry for wasting your children's beverages.
Yes, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Anyway, so yeah, she's drinking a Kool-Aid burst. I found that funny. And then her and Xander just bust out laughing, talking about some story from the 6th grade about Cordelia basically being a tryhard. And they're just rolling. And, you know, Buffy kind of looks a little sad. She kind of left out, you know, because, you know, she wasn't part of that.
Right. It was BB before Buffy.
Right. And they finally straighten up when Willow realizes that Buffy's kind of not involved. And Xander says, yeah, listen, what kind of moron would want to be May Queen anyway? And Buffy turns away to her locker and putting some books in there. And she kind of says quietly that I was. And he's like, what? She's like, at my old school. And Xander's like, oh, well, I meant the non-moron kind then. So he's trying to backtrack pretty quickly. And then all of a sudden, Buffer, I almost said Buffer. When I met Xander and Willow start laughing again insanely about this 6th grade story. And all of a sudden, some bro comes running down the hallway saying, guys, come on, man. Mitch got wailed on. I think he's... And then the very next scene is Principal Snyder, and he says, dead? And then he says, you know, he's clearly miffed, and he's like, no one's dead. What are you, ghouls? And then you see some EMTs come out with Mitch strapped onto a stretcher. And quite honestly, Mitch looked almost perfectly fine to me. He had a little bit of swelling around one eye. And maybe a little...
I was going to say, his nose looked like it might have been broke.
Oh, did it? I didn't even...
Yeah. There's aside from the swelling around his eye, like up here on the bridge of his nose, there was a big bump that I took to indicate that his nose had been broken.
Oh, okay. I only made note of the swelling around his eye. He had like a little bit of redness on his cheek.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the way he's acting, you would think he'd been, I don't know. But anyway.
Have you ever been hit repeatedly with a baseball bat?
I've been hit twice with a baseball bat. And, yeah, it wasn't all that worse for wear. I mean, it doesn't fucking feel good, but I didn't need a gurney to stretcher me out. And
where were you hit? Where were you hit?
On the side and kind of on the back and the shoulder. But yeah, I didn't take one to the face. But obviously, whatever he took to the face was because if I hit somebody today with a Louisville Slugger in the face, they're gonna look a lot fucking worse than Mitch did with that little bump on his eye. You know, I don't know. Anyway, so now there's another great part. Buffy stops the EMTs as they're wheeling Mitch by so that she can interrogate Mitch as the professional investigator that she is. And everyone's fine with it, including Principal Snyder, the EMTs, who I would assume their number one job is to get this kid to the hospital to make sure he doesn't have any kind of internal bleeding or whatnot. But they're like, okay, hold up. Sherlock fucking Holmes here needs to question this boy. So yeah, they do that. And she's just like, you know, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. I heard something. And I tried to grab a bat, but it hit me. And she's like, what? And he's like, the bat by itself, it was floating and it knocked me out. And then, only then do the EMTs take him and go on. Now that they're satisfied that Sherlock has her answer.
I was going to say, well, of course they took him. He was done answering questions.
Right, he was done with his given lines. So, they, oh God.
They would have had to up his scale for the day if he had stayed in any longer.
Right. If he had gotten any more screen time, they probably would have had to put him as a guest star. So, as the EMTs go, Buff's like, I better check out the scene. And because that's the thing she does as the Slayer. And so she just turns and goes to head that way. And I love it because Snyder's like, where the fuck are you going? And I'm like,
now, in defense of her saying she's going to go check out the scene, we have seen other instances up to this point.
Oh, no, yeah.
Where she has gone to investigate.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to make it sound like she's never done this. It's just
okay.
It's just like, okay, well, here we go. She's going to go investigate. My whole thing is she's barely trained as a competent as a fighting slayer. She has zero fucking experience or training as an investigative fucking anything. But anyway, so she's going to go investigate. And like I said, Snyder pops up and he's like, where the fuck are you going? And I was like, hell, thank you. Finally, some voice of fucking reason here. And she's like, Mitch wants me to get his comb. He really likes his comb. And Snyder's like, yeah, I don't fucking think Mitch needs his goddamn comb right now. I think he needs medical treatment. So fuck off, basically. But what he actually says is stay away from the goddamn crime scene. You're a fucking 16-year-old. And yeah. So
that was the dialogue verbatim.
Yes, the first bit I gave was the verbatim dialogue.
It's like you just copy and pasted it right from the script.
Right? I know. They should have cast me. And right at that time, Willow
I forgot to mention, this is when the show moved to Showtime and only aired at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, exactly. Or Skinamax at 11. So right at that same time, Willow says, sue? He's going to sue? And Snyder's like, and he that totally gets Snyder's attention. And he goes over to Willow and Xander, and Buffy mouths the words "thank you" to Willow, turns and heads off and runs to the double doors to the scene. And we get a little bit left where he's like, what have you heard? Why do you mean sue? And they're like, yeah, didn't you know that Mitch's dad is a really top powerful lawyer? And Willow's like, yeah, other lawyers call him the Beast. And so Snyder's basically shitting his pants at this point. And I'll just take this next scene. It's pretty quick. Buffy's at the crime scene in the enormous Batcave boys' locker room. And she's just walking around, and she gets over to the area where the crime occurred, and the bat is just laying there still. And I made note. Now, it's obviously this is not shot in 1080 or 4K. It's a little grainy and dark in places. There's a lot of times I have trouble with some of the really, really, really dark scenes. Mm-hmm. It looked to me like the bat had quite a bit of blood on it. Do you recall that, or?
No, I'm watching them on Hulu, and the early season transfers, like you said, aren't that great.
Yeah.
But
I kept pausing it and going back 3 seconds, and it looked like there was a lot of dry blood spatter on the bat.
Yeah.
And that bugged me because I was like, he had no places of blood on him anywhere.
Right.
Like, these were all like blunt force, hits. Right. I didn't. Anyway, that's just another thing that bugged me. She decides to kick the bat. Don't pick it up and then check it out. Maybe take it to Giles to test for any type of, this fucking thing could be possessed, or just kick it. So she just kicks it and it rolls away. And then she goes over to the lockers where Mitch was, and there's 4 of them that are open. And she's looking at one and sees something. So all of a sudden she closes all 4 of them, and she stands back and looks, and there's like a word spray painted across the 4 lockers. And and it says, "Oh, I didn't put it in my notes. I believe it says look."
It says look, yeah.
Yes, it says look. What a dumbass! I didn't put that in my notes. The word is look, ladies and gentlemen. It says look, and that's that scene.
That is that scene. And then we cut to the cafeteria of all places. I don't think we've seen the cafeteria since like
Last episode.
no,
Oh
I don't.
yes, we did. Oh
Did-
yes. Wasn't the last? Wait. What was the last episode? Puppet show.
Nightmares.
Oh. Fuck. Yeah, we saw it in Nightmares too.
Did we?
Because Xander was eating. They were eating in there at one point. I'm 99% sure we saw it in the last episode, and we saw it in Puppet Show.
Interesting. I could have sworn it wasn't since the pack.
Oh no, we've seen it since then for sure.
Huh.
Oh no, James, no.
Okay. Well,
No.
I know how I'm going to spend my night tonight.
I'm gonna spend all night watching those episodes, you motherfucker.
So we cut to the cafeteria, and Buffy's filling Willow and Xander in on the scene of the crime, and how the lockers had look spelled across them, and Giles finds them, and he's apparently been looking for them, and they start going over the various prospects of what could be going on, and Giles is like, well, assuming the bat's not possessed, then it could be telekinesis or some sort of invisible creature or a poltergeist. And
Which wouldn't invisible creature kind of cover poltergeist? Okay, but anyway, I'm just nitpicking now.
So they end up divvying up assignments between them.
Well, one of them says, I think it's Xander says, well, if it's a ghost, it must be a dead kid, from school there.
Right. Well, Willow says that.
Or Willow says that, and then yeah, you missed that part, and you missed where she talks about, hey, Willow, make a list, blah blah blah.
Well, that's what I was getting to. I was
You're
saying
getting good to that.
Yeah, I was saying they start to divvy up jobs between them, and Buffy tells Willow to compile a list of dead or missing kids, and Giles says that he'll start researching all the possibilities, ghosts included, and he tells Xander, if you're not doing anything, you can help me, and Xander he doesn't want to. He's like, oh, now there's he's like, now there's homework, and
When did that start?
right. And he asks Buffy, he's like, well, what part do you have? And she's like, well, I'm gonna find out what I can about Mitch. And he's like, well, I want that part. And she's like, fine, you can have it. Like, ask around, talk to his friends, talk to Cordelia. And Xander's like, talk to Cordelia? And he turns to Giles and he's like, so research, huh?
Yeah, and I want to jump back to the where she asks Willow to compile a list of dead or missing students. If I'm going to a school where you can compile a list of dead and or missing students, I'm going to move my child out of that fucking school district and burn that motherfucker to the ground. Just saying.
Well, now we already know that everybody in Sunnydale is completely oblivious.
I know.
To the weird shit
It's
that's
lines
going
like
on.
that in this show where I'm like, the fuck?
No, I get it. So then we cut out to the balcony, like that upper walkway outside the school, and
which overlooks what? The
quads.
Which I still don't understand. But yeah, go right ahead.
And Harmony finds Cordelia at a drinking fountain getting some water, and she asks her, she's like, you weren't in fifth period, and Cordelia tells her she went to the hospital, and Harmony asks how Mitch was, and Cordelia says he's all right, but he's looking too bruised for prom pictures.
Now, let me pause you here.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was the spring dance.
Oh yeah.
This drove me crazy.
Oh yeah.
Because she's like, how's he? Because she literally says, her line is literally, how's he going to look in our prom pictures?
Right.
But this is supposed to be the spring dance.
Do they ever? Did
this is the only time they use the word prom?
Do they refer to it as the spring dance in other instances?
Yes, at the beginning of the episode.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I could have.
Yeah.
Because I swore that's what my notes had, and I.
Yeah. When she's talking about May Queen and all that,
right.
It's the spring dance, and now it's referred to as the prom. Although this is the only time that it's referred to as the prom.
Interesting.
Obviously, a mix-up in writing, but annoying enough that I caught it. I was like, "But wait a minute, prom? This is prom? This ain't prom."
Yeah, I missed that. I missed that. So as she's talking about him being too bruised for pictures, we suddenly flash back. We have a flashback, and I was like, "Am I watching the right show?"
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, "Did I switch podcasts?" And right off the bat, I have to say the flashback. This isn't the first one that happens in this episode, and it's sepia toned.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate sepia toned.
Well, not only is it sepia toned, they kind of put like almost a grain filter in there also.
Right.
And it's like, what is this, like somebody's recollection on a black and white old rabbit-eared television?
Right.
It's ugh.
Decisions
were made, my friend, and they were not good ones.
I would have almost preferred if they had just gone like black and white for the flashbacks.
Yeah, it would have been simpler and cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but just to detour real quick, I disliked when they did, and they didn't do it often, but I disliked sepia tone flashbacks on Highlander too.
Oh yes, they finally they found their footing pretty quickly with what their flashback should look like.
I think there were only one or two early on that had sepia tone, and
Marcus Cordelia especially.
Right, or I think in the premiere episode, The Gathering too, when they initially flashed back to Duncan's time with the Lakotas, it was all sepia toned.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But anyway,
whoever created that for cinematography, I'd like to just say fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, creator of sepia tone. So in this flashback, we see Cordelia, and Harmony in the same spot, and they're talking about.
No, it's the exact same fucking sequence. It ain't just the same spot.
Right, Harmony
is literally getting a
drinking
sip
water, and Harmony walks up.
Because when it first happened, I was like, "Huh."
Right. And if it wasn't for the sepia tone, you might have accidentally thought the
No, I would have. I would have been convinced that
jumped.
Like something happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, they couldn't have at least changed this. I get filming it in the same location for money purposes, for budget concerns.
Right.
But they couldn't have changed it up just a hair.
Right.
Like had her lounging against the wall or standing over by the steps or something. I don't know.
Right. And they're talking about Mitch's at the time recent breakup with a young lady by the name of Wendy.
Yes, Wendy.
And Cordelia's like, we'll see. He's already been sniffing around, and they just broke up. I think she's like 5 minutes ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And she says to Harmony, "Well, if he makes varsity in the spring, maybe I'll take him for a test drive."
Right, which I was like, what? Freaky. That sounds like a Xander line to me.
I was like, what? So then we come back to the present, and they're walking towards the stairs, and Buffy comes out of some doors and asks Cordelia if she can talk to her. And Cordelia and Harmony, of course, are all like, whatever.
Which that was clearly an insert scene. Like
Of Buffy?
That was shot completely separately and just inserted into the deal.
Of Sarah?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Probably on a completely different day. It might have been even a pickup shot later on.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. She was not on set with them when that, Anyway.
And Harmony and Cordelia are basically like, whatever. And all of a sudden, Harmony goes flying down the stairs. Backwards, tumbles head over heels, and does a couple of barrel rolls, and
do a barrel roll,
and lands at the bottom of the stairs, and
should clearly be either dead, suffering from a severe, fucking CTE. CTE taking place.
But she's only broken her ankle.
Yeah.
And so everyone rushes over to see how she is, and Principal Snyder's there, and
I love his line.
Who's the principal here?
Where Buffy says, what happened? And he's like, hey, who's the principal here?
Yeah, and then he's like, what happened?
Yeah. I love Armin Shimmerman. I just love him.
So, and then he also says to Harmony, don't sue.
Yeah, don't sue.
And at about that point, Buffy hears laughing, and she starts to follow it. And it leads her to what appears to be the band room. Right? Is that what you took it for?
Oh yeah. It's hard to tell because
the lights are off and the transfer's already bad.
Yeah, and it's hard. Anything on the dark scene, I'm like, what? Am I getting old or?
Well, I mean, yeah, we are, but
I am. That shit. Some of these fucking scenes are dark.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost makes me wish I still had the DVDs.
Which I do, and I
know you.
Anyway, we'll talk about it next week in Show and Tell.
So yeah, Buffy follows this laughter into the band room, and she says, "Is anybody here?" And something bumps into her, like very clearly, like runs right into her, and you hear footsteps, and she keeps looking around, and we see one of the ceiling tiles in the ceiling open and then slowly close,
which was very difficult to see.
Yeah, that was painful on my old eyes.
Yeah.
And Buffy's all like, I know someone's here, I don't want to hurt you, I just want to talk to you, but of course doesn't get any response and ends up leaving. And that's the end of that scene.
It is. And then we jump ahead to the end of school that day. So all the students are filtering out, and there's these two creepy dudes in suits standing outside looking like the 5-0. And the Scoobies are walking out together. And
fuck the police. Oh,
fuck
sorry.
The police. The Scoobies are walking out together, and so they're like, Giles, have you, or Buffy says, Giles, have you ever actually touched a ghost? And he's like, no, but
he has a flashback, and it's very similar to the Ray Stantz ghost blowjob scene. Oh God. It was really out of place for this show.
I thought you were gonna go with the clay pottery scene from Ghost.
That would have been good too.
Like him and Patrick Swayze. Anyway, He's like, no.
It's Gi-
Go
it's-
ahead.
this is it's Giles doing the pottery, and behind him is Ethan
Yes.
Hunt or
Yeah.
Ethan Rain. Ethan Rain.
That's a deep cut that a lot of
That's-
people aren't going to know yet.
Yeah, if you're not a fan of the show, you're not going to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, shit. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'm a little blurry-eyed now. Where the hell was I? Oh, yeah. So Buffy's like, have you ever actually touched a ghost? And he's like, no, but I feel it. I hear it's, really creepy, blah, blah, blah. It's cold, yada, yada. And Buffy says, well, that's the problem. This one touched me, but it just bumped into me. It didn't go through me, and it wasn't cold. And Xander says, so what then do we have? And we have just an invisible person? And Buffy says it's a girl because she laughed and I heard it. And Giles says, a girl on campus with the ability to become invisible. And Xander's like, he's like, wow, that's cool. I'd love to have that power. But he'd use his powers to, and I quote, protect the girls' locker room.
Such a skeevy.
He is definitely he who must not be named clone. Like, that is definitely him. I mean, oh, God. And I don't know if it's this scene. I may have missed it. There is a scene, it might have already happened, where he is wearing a shirt that says Peep Show.
Really?
Yes.
I must have missed that.
He's wearing a red shirt, and it's got like the old, like, I'm going to say like 50s drawing of like a lewd girl.
Uh-huh.
And it says Peep Show, like 20 cents or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, you could not wear shit like that in any school I went to. What, anyway?
Well, yeah. I mean, my schools really didn't have much of a dress code.
Oh, well, we didn't have a dress code. Like, we didn't have, but okay, just for instance, when I was in, I don't know, freshman or sophomore year, I wore a Jimi Hendrix shirt one day to school. And he
Same
had,
thing.
yeah, exactly. He had a tiny little fucking cigarette butt in between his fingers. And I had to, and they tried to make me put tape over that, over the cigarette. And I was like, fuck you. So I went to detention the rest of the day. Anyway.
You were a rebel. Now I am surprised your parents didn't whisk you away to wilderness camp.
Wilderness camp, exactly. Exactly. So let's see, where did I leave off? Oh yeah, so yeah, so he would use his powers to protect the girls' locker rooms. Gross. Giles says it must be heady, a heady experience to have that ability. And Willow says, how'd she get it? Is she a witch? We can fight a witch. And Xander all of a sudden pops off with, well, according to Greek mythology, invisibility cloaks were reserved for just the gods. And then he's like, see, research boy with the knowledge. And I'm like, yeah, even though it's completely unrelated, irrelevant. But good job.
Like they all give him like this impressed look.
Yeah, they're just impressed he can even say the word mythology, probably.
Right.
But so they're like, she's like, no, that's too petty. This girl has an actual grudge, and but why Harmony? And then they're like, well, let's see, her, Mitch, what's the common denominator? And then they all say Cordelia. So first thing tomorrow, she's like, Willow, pull up that list for me of the missing and exploited children, or whatever the fuck list she's making.
Dead children.
Yeah.
Dead kids.
As they're walking away, Xander asks if I love this. Xander and Willow walk off to like either get on their school bus or walk home or whatever. And Xander says, hey, you want to come to my house for dinner tonight? My mom's making her famous call to the Chinese place. And Willow says, Xander, do you guys even have an oven? I was like, what kind of life? I distinctly get the feeling that Xander, it's just Xander and his mom. Like he's in a broken home, and she clearly does not cook ever.
Right.
So sad. Maybe that's why he's a creep.
I was gonna say that could be the leading cause of skeeviness in America is broken home.
Yes, that's well known. Look up just type in skeeviness on Google, and it'll say broken homes.
Right. Leading cause broken homes.
Yep.
That's fact.
That's right.
Listeners.
And then Giles tells Buffy he'll look into ways to try to decloak this girl. And then he says, well, what about you? What are you going to do? And she says she's pretty sure Cordelia is working on her dress tonight. So maybe there'll be some action. So, and he's like, well, how will you hunt what you can't see? He's like, well, you might have to work on listening to people. She's like, very funny. And he's like, I thought so. That's that scene.
And that takes us into the Sunnydale halls. Later that night, Buffy comes in and wearing a very fashionable leather ensemble.
You can't say shit like that right when I'm taking a drink. Leather ensemble. Yeah, and like, do you remember wearing leather, other than maybe a leather jacket? Did you wear leather as a high schooler? Like leather pants?
I had a pair of leather pants, yeah.
You fucking liar.
No, I did.
You had leather pants?
Yes.
In the 90s?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show this week. I'm on your
Yes, I had a pair of leather pants.
Okay.
I bought them.
I
bought them in the summer of '99, so right before my senior year of high school.
Wow. Okay.
I bought them. This is so sad. I bought them at JCPenney.
Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
JCPenney sold leather pants.
JCPenney sold leather pants.
They were real leather, not like pleather or.
Nope, not pleather, real leather. Yeah.
Wow.
They were hot as
fuck. Yeah. There's a reason why dudes who wear leather vests usually have nothing on underneath.
Yeah.
Because that shit is hot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be 100% honest with you. I, till this day, do not know what possessed me to buy. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was seeing Sarah Michelle Gellar in her leather pants. No. I couldn't tell you what at the time possessed me to buy a pair of leather pants. But
Can I ask you this?
Sure.
On how many times did you wear them before you was like, fuck this? Handful of times.
Yeah, I would maybe. So immediately after I bought them, maybe 3-4 times, and then they languished in the closet for quite a while, and I broke them out maybe another 2 times years later.
And then you donated them to a local
and probably the local trash heap or biker bar. I don't know.
I was gonna say biker bar, perhaps.
I may have taken them to the Blue Oyster Cult Club.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what the fuck that is, but and I'm gonna be thankful that I don't.
It's the gay bar in Police Academy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Actually, I think it's just the Blue Oyster Club.
Well, here's my question. What was your ensemble that went with those leather pants?
Like all the time, or I remember one outfit in particular. It was the leather pants. A red, not silk, but it was a very flowy button-down shirt.
So like a pirate shirt.
Not a pirate shirt, but it wasn't puffy and ruffled.
Can I just, in my mind, pretend to picture that it was? Because
Sure.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Sure. And a black suede vest.
Okay. Now what was there?
And my ponytail.
Well, of course. Yeah. Was there a long coat that went with this ensemble?
No, not at that time. Because the fucking leather pants were too hot, dude.
Yeah, you were already probably going into fucking hyperthermia at that point, ready to fucking die. Because
Like,
you had a suede
a
vest
suede
on,
vest on.
a long sleeve pirate shirt, and well, for my purposes, and leather pants. Jesus fuck, were you? I don't even know what to say. Like, how did you go through an entire school day like that?
Yeah, it was. Did
you have like
not.
gym class and where you had to like change out of all that?
It was my senior year, and our senior year, gym became an elective.
Oh yeah,
us.
well it was like that for us, junior and senior year.
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as they were like gym's an elective, I was like, I'm gonna elect to fuck gym.
Yeah. Oh, I loved gym.
No.
I just didn't want to have to deal with being like fucking nasty and sweaty the rest of the day, because we would get like 2.5 minutes to fucking shower, which is not enough.
Right.
So it was either be late as fuck to your next class, or be sweaty and shitty the rest of the day. So I was like, fuck gym then. I ain't doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. As soon as we could make it an elective, I was like, nah, fuck gym. No, I'm done. No, fuck that. Fuck that.
All right. Well, that was a fucking sidebar, but let's jump on to the next scene. And
maybe next week, to open the show, we can discuss some of my Highlander inspired looks that do involve the long coat.
And bro, if you have any pictures, especially with the leather pants,
I don't.
Oh, damn it.
I'm sorry.
Man, because we could put those on our Facebook.
If I had them, I would in a heartbeat, but I don't have them. Oh. I wasn't big on having my picture taken.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. In those days, man, it just was not as often as it is. Like, everybody has a fucking 30 megapixel camera in their pocket now.
Right.
They had to like make an effort to have your photo taken, you know?
I imagine if like Instagram, if that instant gratification of taking a picture and putting it out there had been more prevalent when we were in school, 100% those pictures would exist.
Oh yeah.
100%.
100.
So anyway, Buffy's in the hall and she hears some activity and she starts down the hall and she comes across a classroom where Cordelia and her little clan are fussing over her dress and fixing the hem, and they're laughing.
Are you saying that was a clan of cunts?
No, I didn't say that.
No, I am.
I would like
my goal to start saying things that are offensive.
I would like to go on record right now as saying that was not me. James did not say that.
No.
I definitely did, because it's my goal now. Like, I'm going to try to get people to write into us some fucking way. So if I have to offend people, you're going to be the comic relief. I'm going to be the offensive guy.
Hopefully I'm funny enough that people won't stop listening because they're offended by you.
Now, what did you call them though? Her little clan?
Her little clan, yeah.
Okay, clan of cunts it is. Gotcha.
Wow.
I'm tripling down, baby.
Also, I'm curious. Like, was this a thing? Like, why is she put? Why are they doing this at school?
I thought, okay, because I'm not a girl. Maybe this was something that it was a thing. Like for certain dances, they like help. They made their own, or I don't fucking know, dude. This whole fucking thing, I was like, I don't know what's happening. This must be a girl thing. This is something they did.
Yeah,
like putting the dress like together, like the dress was made, but they're like,
well, they're hemming it and taking it in and
like adding little flair to it, buttons of flair. I don't fucking know.
Which all of that is fine. Like, I get that, but my thing is, why is it happening at the school?
Well, because everything happens at Sunnydale High when Sunnydale High is closed, don't you know? Like, you would literally be arrested for being on school premises.
Right. Like, why aren't they at Cordelia's house doing?
Because
Why
that's
aren't they at
another
Harmony's
set, bro.
house?
That's
doing this?
dope.
I don't understand.
They already have an existing
understand.
Sunnydale set, and that's why everything is fucking shot there.
Also,
They have a Sunnydale set. They have a Buffy's house set. They have an Angel's suite apartment set.
right. Which
And
do we ever even see that again? Angel's
yeah.
Suite apartment.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, we do. Yeah, we
You
do.
want me to, I was going to say, you want me to remind you
Oh,
when?
yeah. No. I remember now.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We see it again.
Like I was immediately jumping straight to the mansion.
Oh,
But-
no.
But that comes later. Yeah, we do see it again. Yeah. Bow chicka wow wow.
Wow, chicka, wow,
Spoiler alert. They bone.
they go to the bone zone. Yeah, so yeah, I don't
so-
know why it's happening in school, and I don't know what's happening. So I don't know. I have no answer for it.
So, and Buffy like peeks through the window and she smiles and she looks down and it's obviously she's remembering like her own experiences and having
She was cool.
friends fuss over her dress when she was whatever the equivalent of the May Queen was, back at LA when she was, is it possible that that May Queen, this whole spring dance May Queen thing is just like Sunnydale High's alternative to a prom? Like
Then why the fuck didn't they just say, okay, they've already said prom in one line that should have been altered. So why haven't all along, why didn't they just say prom and prom queen?
Right. That's
because everyone would know what that is. Everyone who's ever been to school.
Right.
But instead, they went with May Queen and Spring Dance.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they fucked up and dropped in the prom line. So it's like, none of this makes any fucking sense.
Right. So anyway, she's reminiscing about her past life when she used to be fucking someone important.
Who was she fucking that was important?
No, that's not.
Okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
I
meant when she used to be someone who was fucking important.
Okay. See, commas matter, folks.
Right.
Like let's eat, comma grandma, or let's eat grandma.
Right. She starts to turn away from the door and she hears a flute playing and starts to follow it.
Is it a jazz flute?
It is. It's Miles Davis, as a matter of fact. It's the ghost of Miles Davis. Spoiler alert, the ghost of Miles Davis is haunting Sunnydale High School and has it out for Cordelia.
I'm just thinking of
because secretly she's fucking racist.
Every time
and he knows it.
Every time I heard the flute, I kept thinking of Ron Burgundy. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, folks. I'm really sorry. This has not been my best episode.
And
this
yes,
hasn't been my finest work.
I know Miles Davis didn't play the jazz flute, but he was the first jazz musician that came to mind. So don't write us about that.
No, write us in and tell us all about how dumb James is, because at least we will have had some contact.
This is what happens when you don't reach out to us, people. We just go off in 90 million directions.
Yeah, we get offensive. We get stupid. I mean, it's just what we do.
We'll talk about whatever.
Yeah. Whatever entertains us.
To the episode or not.
Yep.
Typical white guys with a podcast just think their opinions matter and have to be heard.
Yep. It's our white privilege speaking through.
So then we cut to the library, and Giles is coming up the stairs into the stacks, and he hears the music too. And the music stops, and he continues to go further into the stacks, and then he hears a squeaking, and he stops again. And he's like, who's there? And nothing. And so he takes a few steps and goes over to a bookcase with glass doors on it. And he sees his reflection, and for whatever reason, he turns away again. And as he looks to his side, he's startled to see Angel standing there. And he looks back at his reflection, but doesn't see Angel. And he sighs and he says, "A vampire casts no reflection." And he looks a little bit nervous, but then Angel's like, "Don't worry, I'm
This
not
is
here to
clearly
eat."
the first time Giles has been in the presence of an actual vampire. I would say that's the way it reads to me.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like up close and personal, I guess I should say. Like
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, we know it's the first time he's seen Angel. He's met Angel.
on hell, I think you mean.
Huh?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I don't get your reference.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know if it's the first time he's like been in the presence.
I don't
of
know.
a
It just
vampire.
read that way to me. Like maybe he has all the research and books he's read all through the years and preparation and to become the Slayer's Watcher and everything. And then it just seemed like this was the first time he's come face to face with his ultimate nemesis. Because like he quotes like, a vampire casts no reflection. Like this is the first time he's seen that in action,
in actual play.
and he seems very nervous, like, like, well, I guess this is the end. This fucker's gonna eat me. And
yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible, but I also think he knows, even though it's the first time they met, he seems to know that it's Angel.
yeah, exactly. How the fuck does he know that that's Angel?
So
Because the only thing he knew of Angel was the shit that they researched in the episode Angel,
right.
which was just texts, and
Right.
and
I mean, I guess it could be.
but it's not like she could have shown him a picture, like,
Right.
oh, here's Angel.
And I guess maybe it could be Angel's line where he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not here to eat." Maybe that tips Giles off that it's Angel.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I guess. Because
Yeah,
I mean, any number of vampires, good or evil, good or with a soul, could have, or I should, evil or with a soul, could have been there and been like, I'm not here to eat. I'm just here to fuck you up. Ah!
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I'm just here to kidnap you and use as bait for the Slayer.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That's just the way it read to me. Like, oh wow, this is Giles' first time, like face to face, seeing this shit in action. Not just reading it out of books.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. And like we said too, like it definitely seems like he knows that this is Angel.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. Somehow. Maybe she drew him a picture.
Maybe. So Giles asks him if he's there to see her, and Angel's like, "I can. It's too hard for me to be around her." And Giles like, a vampire in love with a Slayer. It's rather poetic in a maudlin sort of way. And then he's like, "What can I do for you?" And
well, let me jump in here. We have a clip of the rest of their,
all right,
not their whole bit of banter, but this next little chunk, and then you can finish off the scene.
All right.
What can I do for you?
I know you've been researching the Master.
It's the Vampire King. Trying to learn as much as I can about him for the day that Buffy must face him.
Something's already in motion, something big, but I don't know what. You've read all the Slayer lore there is, right?
I've studied all the extant volumes, of course. But the most salient books of Slayer prophecy have been lost. The Tiberius Manifesto, the Pergamum Codex.
Codex.
It's reputed to have contained the most complete prophecies about the Slayer's role in the end years. Unfortunately, the book was lost in the 15th century.
Not lost. Misplaced. I can get it.
Ooh, he can get it. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? How does Angel have a book from the 15th fucking century?
He's a vampire that works in mysterious ways.
Or at a local swap meet.
Oh, yeah, that's possible.
Maybe he has a booth, okay, at a swap meet, and somebody came in and sold him a big box of books that they thought were junk, and he was like, well, fuck, there's the Codex.
Do what we know of Angel so far, do you feel like that's a reasonable explanation for how he has it?
Oh yeah, definitely. He definitely has a swap meet booth.
He's a weekend swap meet guy. 100%.
Oh, yes.
I agree.
I mean, he's got to supplement his income somehow. He's not making any money just fucking walking around at night and fucking drinking pig's blood.
Right. 100%.
Okay. We both
Yeah, 100%. We're on the same page about this. So then Angel looks at the book that Giles has, and he's like, Legends of Vishnu. And Giles seems kind of embarrassed, and he's like, there's an invisible girl terrorizing the school. And Angel's like, that's not really my area of expertise. And Giles says, he tells us it's not really his either, but it's, it's fascinating and by all accounts a wonderful power to possess. And Angel says, looking in the mirror every day and seeing nothing there, it's an overrated pleasure. And we cut to just seeing Giles's reflection in the glass bookcase.
Yeah. Yep. So Angel's hat skills.
Yep. And that takes us where, Jeremy?
To another sepia-toned flashback. And some more grain thrown in there too, just in case you weren't sure that this was supposed to be a flashback. An ordinary, plain-looking high school girl is looking in a mirror. I guess arranging her hair or what have you. She's clearly in like the girls' restroom at school. And then you hear Cordelia and the cult of cunts come walking in, and they're talking amongst their stupid selves. And they're as they get closer, the voices become clearer that you can tell what they're saying, and they're talking about this. I don't even know what you call it, like a presentation they had to sit through of an alumni from the school, and he was showing slides, and oh my God, they were so boring, and blah 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 blah. And the girl who we had saw looking in the mirror there, she kind of smiles and she's laughing along with them, and she joins in the conversation and she says, yeah, and his toupee, it looked like a cabbage. Well, Cordelia and the cunt fucking cult continue talking, totally ignore this girl like she's not even there and doesn't even exist. And she tries to put the line in there again, and Harmony looks at her and says, we're talking here, and shuts her down. And then Cordy uses that exact line that girl had said earlier about the toupee looking like a cabbage. And of course they all laugh. It's a hilarious line. And they walk away and leave that girl alone. And she's quite sad and begins to plot their death. Or not. I mean, I'm just saying. So I'll just take the next scene here too.
Yeah.
We're outside in the quads, and there's a podium set up, and Principal Snyder's up there announcing the winner and our new May Queen, Cordelia Chase. Yeah. Rah rah shish boom bah. She gets up there and immediately starts saying, oh, thank you for making the right choice and showing me just how much you love me. And, being this popular is not only my right, but it's also a responsibility I take very seriously. And way off to the side there, the Scoobies meet up, and Buffy says, well, last night was a bust, but I'm still convinced Cordy is the key. And Willow hands her that list that she was preparing of the missing and dead students. And off to the side of they all look over, and off to the side of the podium from where Cordelia is, they see those two creepy dudes in the suits from earlier. And Willow's like, did Cordelia hire bodyguards or something? And they just kind of just dismiss it. And Buffy says she's looking at that list that Willow had given her, and she says, Marcy Ross, disappeared 6 months ago. She's the most recent one. And she asked Willow and Xander about her, and they're like, no, we don't know her. It says, well, her only activity was band, and she played the flute. And it was the band room that I chased this disembodied voice to yesterday. And then last night I heard a flute when I was at the school, but I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So off Buffy goes to check out this new lead.
And then Willow turns to Xander and she's like, one time at band camp? No.
Oh, buddy. Buddy. How did I miss that one?
I don't know.
Because it's even a flute. I mean, fun.
Right, exactly. I don't know. That's why I'm the comic relief.
Clearly.
So we cut to the band room again, and Buffy's looking around, and she almost runs into a chair, and she happens to notice a boot print on it. And when I tell you, like, I had to squint and practically turn up the brightness on my TV.
Yep.
To be like, what the hell did she even see on that chair?
And I had to do the same thing when she climbed onto the chair
Oh.
to go up on top of the shelving unit there. I was like, where is that? What is she doing? I can't see shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So she sees the boot print and surmises that it must have been used to step and climb up. And she looks up and she notices that in the corner of the ceiling, one of the tiles is askew. And she climbs up onto the cabinet and crawls over there and lifts it up and pushes it aside, pokes her head in, has a look around, and she ends up climbing up into the ceiling, and she begins to crawl through the space. And I just have to point out that there's no way in hell that a school drop ceiling like this is going to support the weight of a human being.
The way I read the scene, or I should say the set, was that it was supposed to appear that she was crawling. When she got up into the ceiling, she was crawling across the HVAC stuff, right, which would hold her weight until she got to a portion, wherever it is in relation to where she went up to, that was an actual, not a drop ceiling, but
like actual solid.
Yes. That's okay. The way I read it, because there's no amount of suspension of disbelief that would allow you to think that, that this would be possible any other way.
Right. I mean, because your typical school drop ceiling is literally just like styrofoam tiles held in place by thin aluminum cross girding.
Yeah, although at my school it wasn't styrofoam; that was actually asbestos, probably.
Oh, okay.
That's
right. Well, that explains a lot. That explains a lot. So anyway, Buffy's up there and she crawls through there, and she finds basically a nest, which I believe she actually refers to it as later. And there's some blankets and some pillows, a stuffed teddy bear, and a bunch of papers. And she starts to rifle through it all, and she finds a flute. And
I can't believe she touched that flute.
Right, after where Willow put it. And
we're going to hell.
Where we see, where I presume it's Marcy's POV of we're watching Buffy go through all of her things.
Yeah.
And she moves some sheet music and finds a yearbook, and she opens it, and it's got Marcy's name in it. And,
totally invading Marcy's privacy.
Right. And Buffy's all like, "It is you," and Buffy's looking through it, and she looks at all the signatures in it, and there's not many. You know, they're far and few between. And as she's sitting there, we see a knife floating in midair behind her.
This tiny little like fucking paring knife that you use to like.
It almost looks more like a letter opener.
Yeah, like something you use to like peel an apple with.
Right.
It's just like hovering behind Buffy. It's hilariously non-threatening looking.
Right. And Buffy closes the yearbook and takes it with her as she starts back towards the hatch, the open ceiling tile, and she makes her way back into the band room and puts the tile back and hops down off the cabinet. And then we could cut to Ms. Miller's classroom again, and she's waiting for Cordelia, and presumably, and we hear the door close, and Miss Miller's like, "Cordelia, could you possibly be on time?" And she looks up from her desk and she sees that no one's there, so she goes back to work, and we hear Marcy giggle, and Miss Miller, of course, who's there. And then all of a sudden, Marcy slips a plastic bag over Miss Miller's head and ties it off. At which point we cut to the hall. And
in my notes, I put suffocation, no breathing. Sorry.
No, we cut to the hall as Cordelia's arriving at the door, and she goes to knock, and we cut back to Miss Miller, and she's slumped over on her desk, and Cordelia comes in and, "Oh my God, Miss Miller," and she lifts her up and she pulls the bag off of her and she's, "Are you okay?" And Miss Miller takes in a deep breath and starts to cough, and Cordelia asks her what happened, and behind her on the chalkboard, a piece of chalk floats up. Obviously, Marcy's starts to write on the chalkboard, and Miss Miller says she was attacked, but she didn't see by who. And they hear the chalk on the board, and they both turn around as Marcy finishes writing out the word "listen."
So we now have had her leave the messages "look" and now "listen."
Yes.
Okay, now let me ask you this.
Please.
When the plastic bag went over the teacher's head and face, did she just tie it off and like just walk away, or did she like choke her out with it? Because what was your take on that?
To me, it seemed like she tied it off, and I don't think she necessarily walked away, but she waited to start doing anything else until Miss Miller had essentially passed out on the desk.
Well, how stupid is that of a way to off someone? Because wouldn't you just poke a hole in it and fucking open it up and be like, okay? I mean,
right.
I don't know.
I mean, it's possible that, because of the way it cuts, it's hard to say.
Her hands were free the whole time, though. Like,
right.
The first thing I'm gonna do is go open my mouth, poke a fucking hole through the plastic, and then fucking tear it open. So,
right.
I don't know. It seemed like a really cheesy way to off someone.
Because of the way it's cut, it's hard to, because it cuts, and we see Marcy put the bag over her head and tie it off, and then it cuts to Cordy in the hall, and when it cuts back to the teacher, she's already passed out on the desk. So it's entirely possible that Marcy like held the bag there even after it was tied off to fend off the teacher's hands, or held the teacher's hands.
It just seems very unlikely that plan would have worked in any real world scenario. Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking if you want to kill her, why not just bring that knife you had up there to Buffy earlier and just stab her a couple times or cut her throat or drop a piano on her from the ceiling? But a plastic bag, a bread bag, I don't, whatever. Anyway.
Well, like I said, because of the way it's filmed and cut, like it's hard to say what Marcy did after she tied off the bag.
No, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying in any scenario, a plastic bag over someone's face is like the dumbest.
Well, yeah, but not if you're actively holding that person like against their will. Like if I was going to do it, I would put the bag over someone's head while I'm restraining them.
Yeah, I don't think that would probably work out in the long run.
Very strong.
Okay. All right. Let's jump into the next scene. They're back in the library, and Buffy's showing the rest of the Scoobies the yearbook that she found, and they open it up and they keep saying that it says "Have a nice summer" repeatedly by like everyone who signed it. And Willow's like, "Oh man, this girl had no friends at all." Giles clearly doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. So Buffy explains to him that you put "have a nice summer" when you have nothing else to say to the person. You don't know them. You're just trying to be nice. And so let's just play this clip. I have a clip of this little conversation they're having here about this whole situation.
You guys don't remember her?
No, I probably didn't see her except to sign the book. I mean, this is a big school.
Xander, we each had 4 classes with her last year.
So no one noticed her, and now she's invisible.
What, she turned invisible because no one noticed her?
Of course. I've been investigating the mystical causes of invisibility when I should have looked at the quantum mechanical. Physics.
I think I speak for everyone here when I say, huh?
It's a rudimentary concept that reality is shaped, even created by our perception.
And with the hellmouth below us sending out mystical energy.
People perceived Marcy as invisible, and she became so.
So, in a nutshell, well, you get it. You heard it. So we then have a flashback to English class, to the teacher. And long story short, she's calling on everyone else in the class for answers, but ignoring Marcy. And at one point, Marcy raises her hand, gets ignored again, and turns her hand towards herself and looks at it, and it's starting to disappear. And Buffy, we go back to present time there in the library, and Buffy realizes that it's not like some great power that she can control. She can't control it. She's just, the mystical energies of the Hellmouth on top of what was happening has just rendered her invisible. And so now she's just taking advantage, she's gone mad, basically, Buffy's like, it's something, we did to her. And what does she want? She wants Cordy, because she sees it where the girl has drawn mean shit on Cordelia's picture in the yearbook. And speak of the devil, right then Cordelia walks into the library, and she's basically begging for Buffy's help, saying that someone just tried to kill Miss Miller, and someone's trying to kill me. Giles says to her, "I don't believe I've ever seen you here before." And Cordelia says, "No, I have a life." So she's like, but I need your help, Buffy, and because you're always around when weird stuff's happening, and you're strong, and you've got all these weird weapons, and I was hoping you were in a gang. And so they basically give her the quick rundown on who's after her, why, that she's invisible, etc. And then we buzz up to the lair, the nest, Marcy's nest.
I do I do want. There's one line in this scene in particular that made me laugh out loud when part of Cordelia's appeal to and trying to appeal to Buffy for her help. She's talking about how they both have a feeling for each other deep down, and Willow goes nausea.
Yeah, nausea. Yeah. Thought about that one. Yeah. So then we jump up to the lair, Marcy's lair, and she's talking to herself and just basically all, fuck Cordelia, you bitch, I'm gonna get you, blah 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 blah. And then what happens, James?
I'm surprised you didn't go more into detail about what Marcy says, because she does refer to Cordelia and her friends she says, you and all your idiot slut friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I don't the slut thing, I don't know about all that. But they're definitely cunts. I mean, let's just that's what they are. That's literally what the writers and Joss Whedon, or I'm sorry, He Who Must Not Be Named, are going for with the Cordelia character and her friends.
I don't know that they're going for like that extreme level.
Oh, they're going for that. Come on, listen to her lines and just the total cunt that she is. I mean, come on.
I don't think it's that extreme. Are they definitely making her and her friends out to be queen bee bitches? Yeah, 100%. I don't know that. There's a big difference.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's not.
The library.
Yes, library.
We go back to the library, and Giles is like, well, we've got two messages from Marcy, look and listen, and Willow's like, messages we don't understand, and Buffy says, I don't think we're supposed to, Marcy's not ready yet, but based on what she did to Cordelia's picture, I'd say that she's kind of flipped out about the whole May Queen thing, and maybe she's going to try and do something about it. And basically they're like, we should keep you away from the bronze tonight, and Cordelia and Buffy are like, that's probably not the best idea. Whatever's going to draw Marcy out, it's probably best to play things like they're supposed to happen. Let the coronation at the bronze go on like it's supposed to, and draw Marcy out, and use Cordelia as bait. And we see that Marcy is there, and she's kind of watching the whole things, from the stacks above them all. And they all get up and leave to go about their tasks. And we go to the hall with Buffy and Cordy, and they're walking, and Cordelia's like, how creepy is it that Marcy's been at this for months, just watching us, and yada yada, and so she's invisible because she's so unpopular. And Buffy's like, yeah, that about sums it up. And Cordelia says, it's awful to feel that lonely. And Buffy takes a jab at her, and she's like, so you've read something about the feeling? And Cordy stops, and she stops Buffy, and she's like, you think I'm never lonely because I'm so popular? She says, I can be surrounded by people and feel completely alone.
Aww.
She's like, it's not like any of them really know me. I don't even know if they like me half the time. People just want to be in the popular zone.
Everyone hates you in reality, Cordelia.
sometimes when I talk, everyone's so busy agreeing with me, they don't hear a word I say.
Because you're a cunt. Okay, sorry.
Um, this is like a legitimately heartfelt conversation with Cordelia.
It's not though. It's so not. I got nothing from that. It's just her lamenting, oh, poor me. I'm so fucking popular, and I'm so bleh. I don't even give a fuck. Fuck her.
But it's not. It's her
Oh.
It's her lamenting about how being popular has resulted in her feeling lonely because
Has
she
resulted-
doesn't because she
being-
doesn't know if any of those people actually care about her or
has,
are
has
her
being
friends.
popular made her be a fucking cunt?
Yeah.
No.
Yes,
I don't.
because
No, I don't
that's
accept
what's
that.
gained her popularity.
I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all. You can be popular. You can be popular and super cool and everything to everyone and still be a nice person. And she has chosen to go the other route. So fuck her and her bullshit lament. I don't even care. And that's how I feel about that.
Okay. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. So Buffy asks her, well, if you feel so alone, why do you work so hard at being popular? And Cordelia says, well, it beats being alone by yourself.
Which is true.
And they continue on down the hall, or she does, and Buffy considers that for a beat or two and then follows Cordy. And we cut to the library, and Willow hears a flute playing. And she tells everyone to be quiet. And they all listen and look in the direction of the music. And Giles is like, come on. And they cut to the hall, or we cut to the hall, and they're coming out of the library. And Giles is like, we could try talking to her, reason with her or grab her. And Willow's like, well, there's three of us. And Xander's like, let's go. So they start down the hall, and we cut to a mop closet, and Buffy opens the door and turns on the light, and Cordy's like, if you ever tell anyone I changed in a mop closet, and Buffy's like, well, your secret dies with me. She tells her to hurry, and Buffy comes out of the closet and closes the door behind her. And we cut to the basement where Giles and Willow and Xander are coming down the stairs, and they're looking around, and they listen for the next direction to take. And Xander hears the flute through a pair of big metal doors. And he's like, over here. And he opens the door and follow him into the boiler room. And Giles like, Marcy, we know what happened. Can we talk to you? And Willow apologizes for ignoring her. And Xander follows the sound of the flute, and it leads him to a shelf where there's a tape recording of the flute playing. And Xander's like, can you say gulp? And we hear Marcy run from the room, and she slams the door behind her, and we hear a hissing sound and realize that the main gas valve's been turned on. And we cut back to the hall where Buffy's talking to Cordelia through the door, and she's like, you know what you were saying before, I get it. It doesn't seem to matter how popular you are. And Cordy's like, you were popular in what alternate universe? And Buffy's like in LA. And she's like, the point is I felt like something was missing. And Cordy's like, is that when you got weird and got kicked out? And Buffy's like, can we have the heartfelt talk with a little less talk from you? And there's no response. And she calls for Cordelia, and then she hears noises in the closet and some muffled screaming. And Buffy again calls for Cordelia, and she tries the door, but it's locked. She ends up punching through the door and reaching in to unlock it. And as she comes in, she sees Cordelia being yanked up through the ceiling, and Cordelia yells for Buffy. And Buffy tries to jump and grab for her legs, but she's pulled through. And Buffy takes a step back and then takes a running jump up, and she grabs a pipe and swings herself up through the opening. And we cut back to the basement, and Giles, is checking the furnace, and he says, Marcy, snuffed out the pilot light, and the gas is on, and he says he can't find the shut-off valve, and Xander finds the valve on the floor, and Willow's like, "Oh, that's bad," and they go and check the door again, but it won't budge. So Xander grabs a metal bar of some sort, and he goes to swing it at the door, and Giles tells him no. Even one spark could set up the whole building. And we cut back to the ceiling crawl space where Buffy finds Cordelia, and she's looking around, and Marcy ends up kicking her, and Buffy rolls away and falls through the ceiling and onto a desk, and we see a medical bag fall down on the ground next to Buffy, and Buffy's looking around, and we see Marcy's grabbed a syringe out of the bag, and she goes over to Buffy and injects her in the neck, and Buffy passes out. And that's that.
And then we are now in the bronze. Buffy wakes up and she's tied to a chair, looks over, and so is Cordelia. And Cordelia is already awake, and she's like, "Oh, you're finally awake." And Cordelia says, "I can't feel my face." And Buffy's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "It's numb." And then they both look up, and there's this huge message written in front of them that says "Learn." So now it's look, listen, and learn, ladies and gentlemen. So then we cut back to Giles, who's basically tearing up his hand while he's trying to turn the shutoff valve without the handle. He gets it, I don't know, he gets like a half a turn on it. And he's like, "Okay, that should give us a few extra minutes, but if we don't get out of here soon,
We dead.
It's going to be over." And, "Why is she doing this?" I believe it's Willow says that. And Giles says, "The loneliness, the constant exile, she's gone mad." And then we cut back to the bronze, and a table rolls up between a bound Buffy and Cordelia, and there's a sheet covering it. So that immediately tells me what's going on under the table. I don't know about you, but Marcy says, "I'm disappointed. I hoped you guys would have figured it out by now." And Buffy's like, "Why don't you explain it?" And Marcy goes into this long diatribe about, how Cordelia is popular and everyone wants to have what you have, and blah, 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 blah. Everyone wants to be in your light, and etc. And then, woof, the sheet gets removed from the table to reveal tons of surgical and torture tools. And she says, "I'm going to give you a face that no one will ever forget." And I'm like, wow, this was the whole thing. This was the whole 6-month plan. "I'm going to fuck your face up." Okay. We'll just go with it. Back to Giles and Xander. They have now wrapped Giles' coat around the end of this big metal bar to use it to bang against the door and thus not create a spark. However, that's just not working. They're beating the shit out of the door and nothing's happening. And back to the bronze, and Buffy's like, "Marcy, you can't do this." And the scalpel is hovering, right by Cordelia's face. And Marcy's like, "Well, what are you going to do, slay me?" Well, we both forgot to mention that earlier in one of the library scenes, Marcy was actually up in the stacks listening to everything. Basically,
I mentioned that. I
you
mentioned
did?
Marcy was in the stacks watching.
Oh, okay. I missed it then.
Yep.
Yeah. So she knows their whole plan and blah 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 blah. So, after she says that, she just punches Buffy, and then the scalpel goes back to Cordelia's face, and she's like, "You should be grateful. People that pass you on the street are going to remember you for the rest of their lives, and everyone who comes to your coronation tonight are going to take the sight of the May Queen to their graves." And Buffy's struggling against her bonds at this point, kind of reaching for the edge of the table. And we cut back to basically a passed out Willow. Xander's sitting next to her, and he says, "Oh, you're both passed out on me." And then he passes out. Now, you should go back and rewatch this scene, because when Xander falls over, he smokes Willow in the side of the face.
Yeah, he nails her with his head.
He drilled her in the. I was like, whoa! I rewound that a couple times. I was like, oh, she was not happy after they called cut for that scene.
She wasn't happy before they called cut. I don't know if you caught it, but after he slouches and slides on and he hits her with his head, the look that she gives him.
Yeah, she's like, "You motherfucker."
Yeah, like
so. Then we're back to the bronze, and the scalpel is again moving to Cordy's face, and she's like, "I think we should start with your smile. It should be wider." And of course, Cordelia's screaming, and at this point, she starts trying to talk her down and reason with her and stuff, and she's like, "You can't talk your way out of this," and slashes Cordy across the face with the scalpel. But then, as soon as Cordelia looks back up to the camera, the cut doesn't even look like a cut. It looks like a streak of lipstick and a couple of drips of blood, but the whole thing is like bone dry. So very poor, on a show that kind of prides itself on its monster makeup. This particular special effects makeup was horrible. Anyway, right at that time, Buffy finally is able to pull the table close enough to her, and she kicks it, and it slams into Marcy and knocks Marcy way back. And Buffy's able to struggle free of her bonds and jumps over and starts working on Cordelia's. But by that time, Marcy's recovered, and she kicks Buffy in the mush and knocks her a few feet away. And do you want to finish up, or do you want me to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So then we cut back to the room where the rest of the Scoobies are, and the door flies open. And who is it? It's Angel to the rescue. And he hurries up and grabs them all and pulls them out of that room, gets them out into the fresh air, and slams the door shut behind him. And they're all kind of dazed and everything. And he's like, what are you doing? They're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I brought the codex that I was talking about. And he's like, I came in through the basement and I smelled the gas, so I checked it out. And Giles is like, you got to shut it off, or this whole building is going to go up. And Angel's like, well, I'll get it. Don't worry about it. Not like I need the oxygen. So
I liked when Angel finally had them all out of the room. Xander's like, what happened? And Angel's like, you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. You tell me. What the fuck? I just showed up and you all are in the room dying. So we cut back to the bronze, and at this point, Buffy is now pissed. She's kind of not really sorry for Marcy anymore. She's like, you're just a fucking Looney Tune. She says, you're a thundering loony. And so then she just she continues to get her ass kicked by nothing, because she can't see her. And Cordelia is screaming and sobbing and everything the whole time. And Buffy finally looks at her and says, Cordelia, shut up. And Cordelia's like, oh, okay. And then she kind of attunes herself with her senses, her heightened Slayer senses. And she's concentrating, and she hears a noise behind her. She spins and wham, fucking clobbers Marcy, who goes, go ahead.
Why is it so fucking windy in the bronze?
Yeah, because her hair starts blowing, and as I don't know. Maybe somebody left a skylight open.
Maybe.
Uh,
But I was like, is this like is the hair blowing supposed to indicate like Buffy like attuning herself to her surroundings and really listening? Like, I don't. Or is the bronze just really fucking drafty?
I hadn't thought about the attune the. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good poll.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they were actually doing, but yeah, that's a good way to think of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
that
you
was
said
that
that's
was
very drafty.
right. Like that was kind of my read on it. I was like, either the bronze is really drafty, or they're using this effect as a way to indicate Buffy's like focus and, you know, like you said, like attuning herself to her surroundings.
Or maybe at that exact moment she became an easy breezy cover girl.
Or an airbender.
Okay, we can go with that too.
Maybe
So,
Cordelia just sneezed.
or farted. So yeah, she turns and wow, just she basically gives her the full Slayer clobber and sends her flying, sprawling through a curtain. And so now she's all wrapped up in this curtain, and she staggers back up, and Buffy gives her another one, pretty much finishes her off, KOs her. And then at that exact time, the door flies open, and those two creepy suited 5-0 looking guys come running in. Everyone stay where you are. And FBI, nobody move. And then he's like, okay, we'll take it from here, ma'am. Talking to Buffy, who's supposed to be a 16-year-old, but okay, ma'am. Long story short, they know what she is. Apparently she's not the only one that this has happened to. They're in Sunnydale. And so the government's been kind of collecting them to use, I would assume. I guess we'll find out. So they just take this chick and they just leave with her. And Buffy's like, okay, all right, cool. All right, see you guys. Bye. Thanks for not doing anything to help us. But okay, you can take her. That's cool.
Yeah, it was Buffy was like, you know, this isn't the first time it's happened, is it? Like it's happened to other kids at other schools, hasn't it?
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying.
They're like, we're not at liberty to discuss that.
Yeah, I'd be like, well, I'm the Slayer. I'm gonna fuck you up if you don't discuss that. But anyway, she's just like, okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead and take her. So yeah, that's Cordy's just like, can I get untied now? And Buffy goes over and starts to untie her.
And that takes us to Sunnydale High, the halls the next day, and our foursome of Buffy, Giles, Willow, and Xander are walking to the library, and Buffy's talking about how she can't believe how messed up Marcy got, and then she asks them how they all got out of the boiler room, and Xander gets ready to tell her that Angel showed up, and Giles interjects and says that the janitor found them and shut the valve off. And as they're walking into the library, Cordelia rushes up to them, and she's like, I didn't get to say anything yesterday, with the coronation and all, but I just wanted to say thank you, to all of you. And Xander makes a snide comment, and Buffy elbows him in the chest, and Cordy's like, you really helped me out and you didn't have to, so thank you. And Buffy tells her it's okay, and Willow starts to invite her to lunch, and as she's inviting her to lunch, Mitch shows up and he's like, you're not hanging out with these losers. And Cordy's like, no, are you kidding? I was just being charitable, giving some fashion advice. And you really think I felt like joining that leper colony? Please. And Xander's like, where's an invisible girl when you really need one? And they head into the library.
By the way, this was the scene where Xander had the 25-cent Peep Show shirt on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we cut to a building, presumably an FBI building, because we see those two FBI agents, Doyle and Minetti, taking Marcy to what appears to be a classroom. And the Doyle says, "I think you'll be happy here." And Minetti's like, "Yeah, you should fit right in." And Marcy doesn't answer, but she goes into the classroom, and the only person visible in there is the teacher. And the teacher welcomes her, and Marcy says, "Hey," and teacher introduces her to the class, and the class says hi, and teacher tells Marcy to take a seat, and we see Marcy pull out a chair and sit down, and teacher says, "All right, everybody, turn to page 50, 54," and Marcy opens the book and flips to the page, and the title of the chapter is Assassination and Infiltration. And Marcy says, "Cool." And roll credits.
Roll credits indeed. Let's rate this bitch, James.
I can already tell you and I are going to have differing ratings and opinions about this.
No, we never do.
I'm giving it a 2.
Okay.
And honestly, there's only 2 things that, well, not 2 things, but there's a couple things that kept it from dropping down to a 1.5 or maybe even a 1 for me.
Okay.
And that is, I like the idea, the concept of the premise of the episode, the idea that someone's feeling of loneliness and isolation could affect their physical reality.
Right.
It could cause them to become invisible, because that's how they feel. The extent to which human will can affect your physical reality, so to speak.
Sure.
I like that as a concept. I don't know that it was necessarily executed as well as it could have been with this episode. The other things that kept it from dipping into 1.5 or 1 territory for me was Angel's and Giles' interaction with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it. Something I didn't mention when we were talking about it before. I liked the idea that Giles was willing to just trust Angel based on the fact that Buffy trusts Angel.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about the relationship between Giles and Buffy.
Yeah.
And I like that Angel went to Giles to try and help in protecting Buffy from whatever's coming.
Yeah.
As opposed to going to Buffy, because it was a good follow through on their last conversation that they can't be around each other.
Sure.
And this is something where you and I are going to butt heads on. I do feel like that, and part of what elevated the episode for me was that conversation between Cordelia and Buffy about Cordelia feeling alone.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was the episode where they realized they had to start doing more with the character of Cordelia than what they were doing.
And what they ultimately do with her, I absolutely fucking love. She becomes my absolute favorite characters, period.
And I think this is the episode where they start to see that.
Yeah, they start to try. They just fail miserably.
Well, and I disagree. I really liked that conversation that between Cordelia and Buffy. That being popular is under certain circumstances is a loneliness in its own that people don't necessarily realize exists. So
Boo-hoo, quit being popular. It's just weak. It's a weak argument. Anyway. So
I
you're
mean,
going.
So yeah, 2. It's a 2. I don't, like I said, those things elevated it for me, but overall I don't necessarily, it doesn't really add anything outside of the codex and the other book that Giles and
Which
Angel
the codex
mentioned.
will come into play in the next episode of the season.
Outside of those 2 things, I don't feel like it adds anything to the overall season-long story of the Master and whatnot. And I don't. I know we always talk about adding to the quote-unquote lore of the show, but to me, and I know we have differing opinions on this, or at least I think we do. I think any new supernatural element that's introduced to the show is essentially adding to the lore of the show.
Yeah.
So,
and I hate when if they add something like that, an element, and they don't give it the exposure it should have, like that it deserves, or that or whatever. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Right. But as far as adding anything to the overall, story of the Master this season, no, I don't think it adds anything.
Yeah.
I don't.
Which, honestly, most episodes in this season had very little to do with him.
Right.
For being the big bad and the Lord of Vampires.
Right. I think they definitely, as the seasons progress, they become better about tying every episode, even ones that are seemingly standalone episodes.
And even if it's a small way, they tie it into whoever the big bad is.
Right, into the greater overall arc. That's something that suffers a lot in this season. But they do manage to get better about that as the seasons progress.
Mm-hmm.
I would go so far as to saying starting with season 2, they get much better about it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't think this is a must watch episode. I don't think it's a must rewatch episode. I don't think this is an episode that I say this a lot. I don't necessarily think this is an episode you show to someone as part of your oh my gosh, you have to watch this show, it's so good.
Nope.
Here's a couple of episodes to get you hooked.
Yeah, this is definitely not going to be one of them.
Right. So yeah, it's a 2 from me.
Yeah, it's also a 2 from me. And I agree. Like, I love the premise, except the premise that I love is the whole invisible person premise. I've always liked the Invisible Man, the various iterations of that, Hollow Man, what have you.
Right. Great
premise, horribly executed. I know they're on a shoestring budget, especially in this first season, but damn, there were just a lot of this was just bad. Bad writing, bad editing in places, really bad effects. Even the makeup was just not good at all. So, again, like you, I give it gets a 2 because of the interaction between Giles and Angel, which is a fantastic interaction. Those two play off each other very well. They always did.
Yeah.
As far as the Cordelia speech thing, my opinions is barfaroni. Like if the speech had been more like, hey, I'm actually not like this at all. Like this is the real me right now. Like what I do when other people are around, that's something I have to do to be popular. Well, but there was just way different ways to do it. Just saying, "Oh, I'm popular,"
but So think about this just briefly, and I know I'm not going to change your mind, but to me, that what you just said does happen in that conversation when Buffy, and it's not explicit, but when Buffy says to Cordelia, then why do you work so hard to be popular? And Cordelia says, because it's better to be, what did she say? Because it's better to be alone with people than without, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
To me, that is a quick, like, and yeah, they could have done it better, but to me, that is the um I'm not necessarily really like this.
Then what she should have said was, you know what, you're fucking right. Fuck this, all this popular bullshit. You know, you guys accept me for who I am. You know, can I basically, can I be a part of your fucking Scooby Gang? And
Right.
you know, fuck all the bullshit. But it's just, it's clearly, it's just a cry for attention. The way it's written and the way it comes off, and it's just weak. And I don't find it compelling at all. I'm like, there's so many things you could do to change that, and you're not doing any of them. So clearly you don't care. So, wah. Anyway, so that's my opinion on that. But I think we agree in a lot of aspects on the episode. Other than that one scene, basically we agree on everything.
Right. And
the Marcy character was super weak.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, the whole FBI connection thing, and
I was just going to say something I didn't
happens again, and it's just weird.
Right. Something I was just going to say something I didn't mention when I did my, rating, was the whole FBI subplot was.
Since when has the FBI recruited people to be assassins and infiltrators?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure they do, but
I don't think the FBI, that's not their game.
Well, that would be
the
more
CIA,
serious.
maybe the NSA, but the FBI. Come on now.
But yeah, that whole subplot was just completely out of left field and
goofy.
Like it was very much done as a way to be able to get rid of Marcy at the end without having to kill Marcy.
Right.
Or deal with the ramifications of Marcy's actions if she were to become visible again.
Which I would just say what they should have done was done something where, her and Buffy are fighting, and then she does something and, I don't know, accidentally gets impaled on something or falls from a great height and, whatever.
Right.
It was going to be easy to cover up. The bitch is invisible.
Right.
I
think for some reason.
And she's been missing 6 months, so.
Right.
It's not like anybody's going to suddenly be like, where's Marcy?
I would say behind the scenes there was probably a very I'm sure there was probably a rule in place regarding Buffy killing human people.
Well, that's why I said I didn't think it should be something that Buffy didn't even have a hand in. Like maybe she come running at her and Buffy moved and she tripped over something and fell, and Buffy tries to save her but can't get to her in time and she falls and dies or something. I'm just saying there were a million things they could have done, but this weird FBI subplot was just, at the very least, it should have been the CIA or the NSA or not the fucking the FBI doesn't recruit assassins. That's not what they do.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just freaking weird.
I mean, it's just another example of the overall poor writing. For this episode.
So I said let's put a stamp on it and go to Goofs, Gaffs, Monsterology, and Body Count.
A little bit of Monsterology. Obviously, you touched on it earlier. Huge, obviously, influence on this episode was H.G. Wells's The Invisible Man, originally published in 1897. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a quick summary. It's about a scientist, mad brilliant. He creates a formula that can turn him invisible. Unfortunately, it has the side effect of also driving him insane.
Yes.
Clearly an influence on this. More
It's been
recent,
done a million times in Hollywood and
right? Like
television.
you mentioned, Hollow Man, just the idea of invisibility,
Mhm.
kind of originates there, and an invisible antagonist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our, not kind of, that's our little bit of monstrology for this week. Body count 0, nothing,
Nada.
no dead
I
people.
thought Mitch was at first until we came back from break, and he's getting gurneyed out.
Right. Let's do a little behind the scenes.
Okay, let's do that.
Although officially known as Out of Mind, Out of Sight, the episode is also widely referred to as Invisible Girl.
By who? Who widely refers to it?
I have heard people refer to it as that. In fact, I was when it came time to watch this episode for the review, I was a little bit confused by the title.
Well, see, I never really had much interaction with the Buffy verse fandom,
Right.
whether online or in any form really at all. So when you say things like that, like, that's news. That's always news to me.
I do want to say I like, we joke about, the episode titles burying the lead. Oh, what could this be about?
Yeah.
I do like the play on words here.
How they switch it.
Right, instead of out of sight, out of mind, of mind, out of sight. I do like that. I think that's
it was clever.
very clever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
perhaps it's really subtle and simple, but it's very clever.
Right. Perhaps one of the most clever things about the episode.
Yeah, probably.
Outside of the premise at its core.
They shot the creative wad and blew it all on just the title.
Right. They were like, they came up with the idea. It's a good idea. We have a great title, and that was the extent of the creative.
We have a great title and a great concept. Now go in that writer's room and fuck it up.
Right. The episode as a whole was inspired apparently by a dream that he who shall not be named had reoccurring as a child. He used to think nobody loved him and that he was invisible to everyone around him. So too bad he didn't disappear.
Too bad it didn't stay that way. Well, no, because then we wouldn't have Buffy.
Right. I was just gonna say, it's such a catch-22 because then
it is a catch-22.
We wouldn't have Buffy and Angel and Firefly and
yeah.
Dollhouse. Did you ever watch Dollhouse? It wasn't bad.
I tried to watch several. I watched previews, and I tried to watch, I want to say 2 different episodes, and I just couldn't. It just didn't. It just didn't.
It wasn't terrible. I enjoyed it, but also the idea of a secret organization full primarily of women who regularly have their minds wiped and then new personalities created to do whatever they're told is also very fitting for
very
the type
fucking
of human
telling of the mastermind behind it all.
That we have found out.
We know what he
clearly
shows there what the fuck he's all about. So
right, but
anyway,
the core concept of, much like this episode, the core concept of Dollhouse is an intriguing idea, and there are episodes where it's utilized very well. But anyway, so underneath that chapter title, Assassination and Infiltration, at the end there.
Yeah.
It's actually the lyrics to the Beatles song "Happiness is a Warm Gun."
Really?
Yeah.
Love that song.
So at various points in the episode, Willow wears a Scooby-Doo t-shirt.
I noticed that.
Buffy wears a neck scarf, much like Daphne.
Okay.
And at one point, Xander
she goes on to play in about 20 years from here or so. Not that, well, maybe not that long.
And at one point, Xander says, "Can you say gulp?" Similar to the way Shaggy would.
Well, it's
would say
around this
something.
time, I believe, that they really start getting referred to as the Scooby Gang.
The first, maybe by the fans, but the first issuance of that in episode in Buffy vs. Canon isn't for quite a few episodes yet.
Oh yeah, I know. But I think the fans had already come to to call them that around this time. I think is when they really started.
Oh yeah.
Saying.
Outside of the episode itself, there's we don't have any goofs or gaffes this week.
Damn, except for the fucking massive headbutt from Xander.
Yeah.
Pow!
Yeah.
Oh, you know that had to piss her off.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because she had her eyes closed, and you know she did not see that coming.
Oh, right.
You know?
Right. Like Willow is basically supposed to be passed out at that point. And when he hit her, like you go, you probably noticed it. If not, go back and watch just that scene. Allison Hannigan like opens her eyes and then glares at
and just kind of looks at him like, you motherfucker,
Yeah.
what the hell? Pay attention to what you're doing, you dick.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Music this week, nothing, just once again the original score as composed by season 1 composer Walter Murphy.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had one of those cheeseball 90s fucking songs in here. What's that? I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
while.
Yeah. And like we talked about before, he composed for Wise Guy, Hunter, The Commish, Prophet, Family Guy, American Dad. But that's all we have for music this week. So, well, any final thoughts, Jeremy?
I don't have any final thoughts. Only kind of looking ahead to next week. Again, it'll be our final series season episode for the season. That'll be Prophecy Girl episode 12. And then as James and I came to an arrangement in the show, we will be covering the Buffy movie as some bonus content. And then once we're all done with that and that's been posted, that's when we'll probably take our little month hiatus.
Take ourselves a little break.
A little summer breaky break. Yep. And to return later in the summer to begin season 2.
Yes.
Anything from you, James? Any final thoughts from you, sir?
No. Nope. This is probably my second least favorite episode of the season.
Oh yeah, it is me. What? No. Mine's Puppet Show, and I think it was Nightmares. I hated on another equally shitty level. But definitely Puppet Show. Puppet Show's definitely.
You didn't like The Witch either. The Witch.
Ooh,
the Witch was.
Maybe it was The Witch. I think it's Puppet Show and Witch.
I was gonna say because you were fairly favorable for Nightmares.
Yeah, Nightmares just had some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think you're right. It was The Witch. Definitely Puppet Show and The Witch is. Oh.
Yeah. For me, it's this and The Witch.
Yeah. So. Well, as always, thank you for joining us this week. Hit us up on our socials.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hit us up. We're on Facebook at Slade Podcast. We're on Twitter at Slade Podcast. We're on TikTok at Slade Podcast. If you go to any of those pages, there is a link tree that'll send you to any of our other pages. You can email us at buffyrevisited@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on the web at buffyrevisited.com, which also has a link tree to all of our pages. So that's where you can find us. Reach out to us. YouTube. We're on YouTube as well. If you choose to view your podcast.
View the podcast and look at my ugly mug and James's beautiful, handsome face.
I am very attractive.
He is very attractive, ladies. So with all that being said, I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.